J. A. Hobson's Imperialism, originally published in 1902 during the height of British imperialism, critically examines the financial instruments, political mechanisms, and ideological underpinnings of imperialism, akin to Marx's exploration of capitalism. The study comprises two parts: the economic basis and the ideological basis of imperialism, echoing the Marxist division between base and superstructure, where the former encompasses the forces and relations of production, and the latter includes cultural, scientific, and ideological aspects. The first part, titled Economics of Imperialism, delves into the motivations and mechanisms behind imperialism. Hobson draws a crucial distinction between colonialism and imperialism, situating the beginning of a conscious imperial policy around 1870. He emphasizes that traditional colonialism involved creating permanent settlements in overseas territories with favorable conditions, driven by the surplus population. In contrast, imperialism entails political annexation without establishing permanent colonies, focusing on populated areas with temporary naval, diplomatic, military, clerical, and administrative presence. Hobson challenges imperialist myths, starting with the myth of overproduction. Contrary to imperial ideologies, overproduction results not from the efficiency of labor or racial superiority, but from the maldistribution of consuming power within a country. The accumulation of financial means beyond needs and demands by certain elites leads to the inability to absorb commodities and capital domestically. Hobson argues that foreign territories are sought not for surplus population, but as avenues for reinvesting surplus capital generated through maldistribution. The second myth dispelled is that of overpopulation, as Hobson contends that British rule in overseas territories primarily aims to safeguard private financial investments, rather than protecting surplus population or settlers. Hobson asserts that imperial practices, while irrational from the standpoint of the whole nation, are rational for specific classes within the nation. The state, he argues, becomes involved in protecting private investments at the public expense. In essence, imperialism reveals the complexities of imperialist motives, challenging prevailing myths and shedding light on the rational interests that drive imperial practices. The integration of financial capital with media and politics is evident as domestic nationalist pro-imperial propaganda serves to portray the interests of financial elites as synonymous with the national interest. Through this narrative, the working class is instilled with a sense of pride in being citizens of an empire. The state, enticed by imperial splendor and international prestige, becomes involved in the military defense of imperial markets. This involvement gives rise to derivative industries, such as naval, military, and administrative sectors, fostering the emergence of new cognitive elites in clerical, administrative, military, missionary, and diplomatic roles. These elites establish a self-perpetuating cycle that promotes further imperial interests, leading to the misrepresentation of the few elites' interests as those of the entire nation. Hobson labels these elites as the parasites of imperialism, asserting that imperialism is the result of a false economy, and advocating for social reform as the remedy. The second part, Politics of Imperialism, explores the politics and ideologies underpinning imperial expansion, exposing inconsistencies and internal contradictions within the survival of the fittest ideology. Hobson critiques British imperial policies, highlighting their detrimental effects on both the colonized and the colonizers, creating a pathological limbo, rather than fostering forms of self-governance and self-sufficient economies. While this section is historically significant, especially considering the condemnation of such ideologies in the 20th century, the first part, Economics of Imperialism, remains intellectually stimulating. Even over a century after its initial publication, the issues raised by Hobson are still relevant. Companies and corporations continue to follow the success recipes criticized by Hobson, with mobile financial capital becoming increasingly deterritorialized and transnational. While the cooperation between the state and capital has evolved, the mythologies of growth and foreign investment persist as supposed solutions for welfare. However, Hobson's classic text underscores that social reform, not ongoing exploitation based on growth and expansion, is the true remedy.